Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivana Dari Vallabha Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivana Dari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. All glories to Radha Govardhana, all glories to the Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, Text 18. The chapter is called The Renunciation of Karta Muni. Esha manavite gabam pravishta ketabadana avidya samsaya grantim chirvagam vicharishyate esha manavite gabam pravishta katabadana avidya samsaya grantim chirvagam vicharishyate esha manavite gabam pravishta katabadana avidya samsara grantim chirvagam vicharyate. Prabhus. Esha maravite gabam pravishta kartadanaha avidya samsaya grantim chirvagam vicharishyati esha maravite gabam pravishta kartadanaha vidya samsaya grantim chirvagam vicharishyati esha manavite gabam vicharishyati esha manavite gabam pravishta katabadanaha avidya samsaya gratim chirvagam vicharishyati esha manavite gabam Good. Okay. Esha, the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Manavi, O daughter of Manu. Ti, your. Garbam, womb. Pravishta, has entered. Kaitaba Adana, the killer of the demon Kataba. Avidya, of ignorance. Samsaya, end of doubt. Vritim, the knot. Chitva, cutting off. Gam, the world. Vicharishati, he will travel over. Translation. Lord Brahma then told Devahuti, my dear daughter of Manu, the same supreme personality of Godhead who killed the demon Kaitaba is now within your womb. He will cut off all the knots of your ignorance and doubt. Then he will travel all over the world. Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki. Here the word avidya is very significant. Avidya means forgetfulness of one's identity. Every one of us is a spirit soul, but we have forgotten. We think, I am this body. This is called avidya. Samsaya gritti means doubtfulness. The knot of doubtfulness is tied when the soul identifies with this material world. That knot is also called ankara, the junction of matter and spirit. By proper knowledge received from the scriptures in disciplic succession, and by proper application of that knowledge, one can free himself from this binding combination of matter and spirit. Brahma assures Devahuti that her son will enlighten her, and after enlightening her, he will travel all over the world distributing the system of Sankhya philosophy. The word samsaya means doubtful knowledge. Speculative and pseudo-yogi knowledge is all doubtful. At the present moment, the so-called yoga system is prosecuted on the understanding that by agitation of the different stations of the bodily construction, one can find that he is God. The mental speculators think similarly, but they are all doubtful. Real knowledge is expounded in the Bhagavad Gita. Just become Krishna conscious. Just worship Krishna and become a devotee of Krishna. That is real knowledge. And anyone who follows that system becomes perfect without a doubt. Jai Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Govardhana Pachayane Nirasesha Shunyavari Praskachya Shatane Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everybody to this morning's Bhagavatam class. This is the perfection of life. We're very fortunate here at New Govardhana that we get the opportunity to hear Bhagavatam each and every day. It's one thing hearing it, via our headphones or on YouTube, but getting the opportunity to sit amongst other devotees and hear Bhagavatam is actually the perfection of life, and where that's happening, that is a holy place. So we should always show our gratitude that we're fortunate enough in this lifetime to be able to sit in such a place and hear the amazing pastimes of such personalities as we've been hearing for the last couple months now, such as Kara Muni. So we're very fortunate, and I really thank Srila Prabhupada for giving us the opportunity to do this. He fought so hard, he overcome so many obstacles within his own life, so much blood, sweat and tears, barely no sleep to give us these books. When you really think about it, it's kind of completely bewildering to the material mind that one individual could do so much. There's so many individuals within this material world, worldly men and women who do so much, which is only a pinprick of this, and they get so glorified. And Srila Prabhupada has done something which is it's out of this world. So we thank Srila Prabhupada for that. And I'm very thankful to be able to be in the association of devotees and talk Srimad Bhagavatam. And we've been very fortunate lately. As I said, we've been hearing about Govardhana Muni. He teaches us that the path of renunciation, combined with devotion, duty, and proper understanding, it can lead us to the ultimate goal of life. I think that's very important for devotees to understand. We can cultivate that renunciation within our heart while engaging in our daily responsibilities, especially us grihastas. So one thing I wanted to touch on within the purport is avidya, which means forgetfulness of one's identity. Every one of us is a spirit soul, but we forget this, or we've forgotten this. And this was one of Srila Prabhupada's main teachings, and within the Krishna consciousness philosophy is one of the main teachings that we're a spirit soul. We live in a world today where everything is based around matter. We're so absorbed in our own life. It's all about me, mine. What can I do? How can I get this person to do this for me? How can I dominate this country? How can I, put my foot on this person's head to get into this position? So it's all about me. It's all about mine. And it seems simple, this philosophy. If one comes to it and they hear that, one of the main things, I'm sure, for any of the new people that have came into Krishna consciousness, one of the first things you hear is that you're not the body. Is that true for anyone who's met a devotee, or when they first started reading Krishna consciousness philosophy? One of the first things that you read? Yeah? Yeah. I remember when I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, and I got to chapter 2, and that's pretty much what chapter 2, at the start of chapter 2, is all about, that you're not the body, that you're a spirit soul. Dihinosmin yata dihi. And I found that very special. But to actually live that philosophy, to actually embody that and live your life from that standpoint can be quite a difficult thing to do, because there's so much distraction around us. There's so many, as they say out in the world, there's so much glitz and glamour, which is very appealing to our material eyes. I remember when I first came to Krishna consciousness, around 10 years ago, I met Charan Aravinda out in the streets. Thank you, Charan Aravinda. And I came into Krishna consciousness, and I remember, I read the Bhagavad Gita and I took it for philosophy, but to actually live this philosophy day in and day out was very difficult to me. For me, I should say. I was going about my daily task as a devotee, but still, when I was new, there was still so much pulling at me materially. I thought that there wasn't, but there was. For me to live my life from that standpoint, that I'm not this body, that I'm a spirit soul, and my constitutional position of that soul is to serve Krishna, was quite difficult for me to grasp and to really live my life from that point. But over time, through the 5 limbs of bhakti, which we were talking about 4 days ago in class, doing that day in and day out, associating with devotees, hearing the Bhagavatam, chanting, worshipping the deities, being within a holy place like we are right now, it's so beneficial to spiritual life. And by doing this day in and day out, we can actually live our lives from this standpoint that I'm not this body, that I'm a spirit soul. It's very difficult. Like you look at the numbers of people who come to Krishna consciousness, or people who are born into Krishna consciousness, to actually live this life can be quite a difficult thing to do. So that's why it's so important to follow the procedures and what Srila Prabhupada has laid down before us. So I've been reading a bit about Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj lately, and he was talking about how strong the material energy is. And he was known as a lion guru. So he was very strong in his Krishna consciousness, and he was very strong in teaching Krishna consciousness. And as devotees moving forward within this world, pushing forward, these main teachings from this Vaishnava literature, such as we're not this body, that we're a spirit soul, and our constitutional position is that we're a servant of Krishna. We're trying to release ourselves from that material bondage. It's a very difficult thing to do, and he was saying that we have to be staunch as Vaishnavas. We have to follow the process strongly and be a good example for those other Vaishnavas around us, because we all go through difficulties, we have hard times, but by being around other devotees who are staunch in the process, they help us push forward. And that's the same as when we're teaching Krishna consciousness, especially in the world today. It's a very, like we see online, it's a very difficult world. Things are becoming very interesting. You would say that most people are awakening. It talks about that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Things like vows are becoming difficult to follow. Following through with your word, difficult to follow. Trying to do things that you say you're going to do, difficult to follow. So it's important that when we preach Krishna consciousness, or when we speak about Krishna consciousness, we say it as it is, so that individual has a clear understanding of the process. If they get a very watered down process of Krishna consciousness and they think that's as it is, as they move down the track, it's going to be very difficult for them to overcome the difficulties that come their way. So continuing on with the material energy and the strength of that material energy and how it bewilders the living entity, there's a story of Sukadev. Where are we? Sukadev Goswami. And it talks about the strength of this material energy that one has to overcome. And it talks about that when we come out of our mother's womb, we're so captivated by our surroundings. We come out and we see our mother, and they're giving us so much love, and we're bewildered with all that love, and the family and friends come in, and we're got our, what are they called? Our heart glasses on. Everything's so rosy. We're getting so much love and affection, which is nice, but we get caught up in all of that. And as we get older, we get to those early years and it's my toy, my piece of Lego. You start identifying with things as this is mine. And as you get older, you start to compare yourself with others. Then you try to put yourself in a better material position than others. Then you're working day and night to try to get better than the Smiths or try to compete with the Smiths. And while we're doing that as a living entity within the material world, we're completely forgetting about the true reality, which is what we've just been talking about, that we're a spirit soul, we're not this body, and that we're a servant of Krishna. And in the Bhagavatam, I think it's coming up, talks about Sukadev Goswami. Is it coming up? In Sukadev Goswami within the womb? Within the womb. And within that womb, that talks about how we're getting attacked by all kinds of living entities within the womb. There's little worms biting us, and it's very difficult. The temperature's very difficult in there. And but one thing about being in the womb that it talks about within the Srimad Bhagavatam is that although we've got all these certain things that we've got to overcome within the womb, and it's such a difficult process to be within the mother's womb, that we actually pray to Krishna. It talks about the living entities praying to Krishna. Please, Krishna, never let me forget you again. Please let me serve you in this lifetime. So we're praying, and as soon as we come out, that forgetfulness starts to begin. And it's very unfortunate, and we're seeing it more and more within the world right now. That forgetfulness is spreading far and wide. And that's why this Krishna consciousness philosophy is so important. And we see today the book distribution here at New Govardhana is expanding and growing. Charana Arvinda's been doing it for many years with Rupa Raghunath, and now all the young brahmacharis are out there helping the boys, teaching, sharing this Krishna consciousness philosophy, which is very important. So I think David Gaurahari brought this up last week. He was actually in the audience, and we were talking about a similar subject, how, once we the living entity may go through these difficulties at the beginning stage within the material world, but then they may meet a devotee, they start to take to Krishna consciousness. That living entity of that personality is actually declaring war on Maya. So when one takes the Krishna consciousness, they start to understand the philosophy that is declaring war on Maya, and that means that although you're starting to put yourself in a comfortable position, well, not a comfortable position, but you have more understanding of the nature of this reality that we're in, Maya may test you. Maya may find one of your weakest links and see if she can penetrate that weak link. It says that she looks for our weakest link and she'll try to get us there when we're weakest. And once again, that's why it's very important to stay strong in our Krishna consciousness, be around devotees, and follow the process that Prabhupada has laid down before us. But we should always be aware of that, especially as new devotees, but also when we're experienced, that Maya can come at any time. Even when we think that we're overcoming the material energy or we're situated so nicely materially, that could be one of Maya's tricks, and she's actually got us in her clutches. So, and I think I was speaking to Nishinga Chaitanya about this the other day, about Maya. We find in our lives when we do get hit with difficulties, and I'm sure everyone within this room has experienced difficulties within their life. We've had to overcome certain hurdles and obstacles which have been thrown towards us, and Maya could be attacking us in certain ways. But if you speak to anybody, and I speak to a lot of people who have been through difficult situations within their own life, you find that within those difficult situations that they've experienced within their life, that they've actually turned to Krishna. That it's been a moment in their life that they've taken more to their Krishna consciousness. They've gone deeper into their reading. They've gone deeper into their chanting. And I was reading the other day, a lot of people, they may see Maya as the enemy, that's someone who's always trying to attack me, but any friend who turns you towards Krishna is actually a great friend. And I look back in my life and I've gone through some quite difficult situations. I've had to jump some high hurdles and overcome some difficult terrain. But I have to say truthfully, but it's in those moments that I've gone deeper into my Krishna consciousness that I've turned more towards Krishna in those times, and in the long run that's really benefited me, and I've really learned to carry that throughout my life, which is very beneficial. So I suppose the moral of that story is, yes, within this material world that we're going to get tested by Maya, but those moments that we do get tested or go through these difficult times, like Kunti Devi does within the Bhagavatam, we have that opportunity to turn towards Krishna and deepen our relationship with Krishna, which is always, always a great thing. Krishna states within the Bhagavad Gita that this divine energy of mine is very difficult to overcome, but those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. So that those more moments we can surrender to Krishna, whether it's in our good moments or our bad moments, we're going to really benefit from that. So the question, I suppose, we have to ask ourselves while we're getting washed around within this material world and we're getting tested day in and day out, is that how do we be strong within our own Krishna consciousness? What do we need to cultivate to stand the test of time and the tests that come my way in Krishna consciousness, and keep pushing forward in Krishna consciousness so I may be able to preach Krishna consciousness? And Bhakti Vinod Thakur, I was reading an article by him the other day, and he said something really important, that every Ekadasi we should see where we're at within our Krishna consciousness. So it's like every 2 weeks we sit down that Ekadasi, where it's like 20 minutes to half an hour, and you can make notes for yourself, have a little journal, and be, okay, how was my Krishna consciousness over the last couple weeks? Was my chanting a bit down? Have I been reading an hour, 2 hours a day? Have I been coming to the temple? Have I been listening to classes online? Have I been associating with devotees? And just monitor where you're at on a monthly basis, a couple times a month, And you find when you're doing that, you can find maybe you're slipping up somewhere, little areas where you're weak, and you can correct that. I find Krishna consciousness can sometimes be like everyday life, where we just go through the ebbs and flows of life. And sometimes that can be quite dangerous in spiritual life. We can get comfortable and we can get washed away. So it's very important to always be monitoring ourselves, checking with ourselves, checking with those devotees who are close to us, and see where we are in our own spiritual life. Because if we do get bamboozled by so many difficulties, if we're not strong within our spiritual life, there's such teachings, the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness, such as we're not this body, we're a spirit soul, I'm a servant of Krishna, this is my consciousness position, that falls to the wayside. And you start to do old habits, you fall back in the old life, and we put ourselves into a very unfortunate position. So staying strong in spiritual life. So we need utsaha, enthusiasm, which I think the boys are bringing at the moment to the temple, the brahmacharis. Very fortunate, jumping around, out doing books. So enthusiasm is very important in spiritual life. Being enthusiastic day in and day out, and also determination, driti. So waking up each day with determination, knowing that the path that we're walking is actually the perfection of this life, and we've got such a great opportunity to serve Srila Prabhupada. And know that there's so many materialists out there with so much determination to do so many things materially, and that we can put ourselves in a better position with more determination to spread Krishna consciousness all around the world. And I was reading also the other day about the 9 stages of bhakti and how important faith is within Krishna consciousness, sadhu sangha, and also bhajan kriya. And I was thinking about how important faith is, because if one doesn't have much faith, it's very easily for them to be put off track, put off path, to be told some other philosophy, to believe that philosophy, to walk down a different path. And it got me thinking on faith. My brother comes here regularly. He was here not that long ago. It must have been about 2-3 weeks ago. My brother was here. And each time he comes, he gets a bit more interested in Krishna conscious philosophy. And he went home and he was chat GBT. A lot of people use that these days. And he was putting in Krishna, Prabhupada, like all these kind of Krishna conscious words where he's been learning around the temple. And he came up to me and he's like, I've been, chat GPT in Krishna consciousness and everything about Krishna consciousness. And I said, oh, that's great. And we'll drive in the car and I said, can you repeat back what you've been learning from the AI to see, how much it lines up? And I was, because he was talking about faith with me and like how do devotees have so much faith within Krishna consciousness. And he wanted to kind of find some links himself. And he was repeating himself, saying this thing about Krishna. He's like, yeah, but I kept saying that there's no real evidence that Krishna was on this planet. He's like, how do devotees navigate that if there's no evidence of Krishna? He was like, they were saying there was no evidence of Lord Chaitanya, no evidence of Krishna. And I was like, whoa. Wait there a second, Sonny Jim, or my brother. And I started telling him, because as devotees, as you come to Krishna consciousness, many people don't even know Lord Chaitanya to start with. But as you go deeper into one's Krishna consciousness, especially through association and reading Prabhupada's books, a whole world opens and brings Krishna consciousness philosophy alive. I remember when I was in Mayapur for the first time, and you could go to all the places where so many previous acharyas have performed their pastimes, where kirtans were performed, where classes were given, where the Panchatattva were. There's evidence there in Mayapur. And I was telling him about Vrindavan, also how there's temples in Vrindavan which are so old, which have so much evidence of Lord Chaitanya. Like there's that, I think it's at the Gokulananda Chaitanya temple, where it's got Lord Chaitanya's Shalagram Shila. It's like a tiny one with his thumbprint in it. that for instance, and I was telling him about, for those who know Madan Mohan, for those who have been to Vrindavan, I think the original one is now in Jaipur, the original Madan Mohan. It said that they're still the same, the one in Vrindavan, the one in Jaipur, no different. But these were actually carved by Krishna's grandson, or he overlooked the carving of this. And his mother was Uttara, who was the wife of Abhimanyu. So these are all descendants of Krishna. This is Krishna's family. So we're so close. There's so much evidence there. The deities in Vrindavan, especially the first three temples in Vrindavan, were carved by Vajranabha, who's Krishna's grandson. And they were overlooked by Uttara, who was Krishna's... Arjuna's Abhimanyu, yeah. Sorry. So Vajranabha, he's the one who overlooked it, and he would ask Atura, who was a wife of Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna. Sorry, there, I got that right. Then we've got Govindaji, who is also carved by him also, which is also in Vrindavan, so many pastime places within there. Then we've also got the Radha Gopinath temple, who is also carved or overlooked by Vajranabha. So, I was telling this all to my brother. I went into much more detail, that there's so much evidence within Krishna conscious philosophy that we can hold to and push forward within our own Krishna consciousness. So we're very fortunate to be here within ISKCON. I could go on about all these temples within Vrindavan, but I won't do that. So going back to a part which I wanted to talk about. So they talk about Sankhya philosophy in here, and that's the living entity is not part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit whole. Consequently, the Spirit soul has nothing to do with this material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he's actually in his actual constitutional position. In the first process of Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, and in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to be involved detachment. However, detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see this sees things as they are. So there we have it. Okay. Any questions today? Yeah?
Attachment to Krishna and detachment from material life are one and the same. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, so because it can be hard for some people to understand, because we're it's good to be attached to Krishna in the process of Krishna consciousness, but at the same time we're becoming detached from the material.
Is this how we surrender, by detaching from material fruits of actions?
I find so. For myself personally, I found that in the beginning stages of my own Krishna consciousness, I was kind of clinging to old beliefs and behaviors and habits, kind of like a child clings to their favorite toy. But over time, through following the process of Krishna consciousness, which we spoke about in the beginning of the class, such as the 5 limbs of Bhakti Yoga, one's purifying themselves and they're becoming more attached to Krishna and less detached to those things of the material world. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was the father of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that that's a good indication of how one can see where they're at spiritually. If one's gaining more attachment to Krishna and all things Krishna conscious, and detaching from those things of the material world in a healthy way. We see that with Kadama Muni. It's done in a very healthy way. It's not like you just push everything to the side and run up into the forest and try to chant Hare Krishna in the very beginning stages. It's a gradual process, and if one really observes themselves and has the right people in their life, the right spiritual teachers in their life, they'll also confirm that with them, that they're in a healthy spot when we're talking about gaining attachment for Krishna and also detaching from those things from the material world, those things which are especially harmful for the living entity.
Thank you, Prabhu.
We can also use, obviously, things that are material within service of Krishna, so that's also a good thing to do. Yes, Nishinga Chaitanya.
Thank you, Padma Prabhu, for the class. Very much enjoyed it. I heard some from the kitchen and then some from here. At the beginning of the class, you were talking about, well, I've made notes saying about being dutiful and talking about the strength of material energy. And it made me think that material energy is strong no matter where we are, whether we're in the privacy of our own home or out and about in public. It's still strong, but it's perhaps our behavior changes accordingly. So perhaps when we're in front of other people or in association of devotees, we're a bit more, maybe, let's say, aware of that material, like how I'm going to behave. I'll be, this certain way, but then behind closed doors or whatever, I'll just binge on Instagram, whatever like this, and be really easily affected. And how important it is to be aware of that it's not just in one place material energy is strong. And it reminded me of Srila Prabhupada, how he had this, what's the book called? A Lifetime in Preparation. Like we know him as when he came to the West from India and started ISKCON, and then this huge amount of wealth and followers and temples and opportunities, and yet he was still incredibly renounced. So we're like how with Kadama Muni is just all these facilities, but then incredibly renounced at the same time, and not just saying right now I'm this big powerful acharya of the world, now I can use these all at my facility. I think that was just really, it just made me think of that renunciation also of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, and it's also a definite sign that someone who's very attached to Krishna, someone who loves Krishna very much, and someone who loves the process of Krishna consciousness. So that's the book you got in Vrindavan? Okay, all those pastimes. Yeah. But even to, like before he was on the world map of the Acharya of ISKCON and everyone started to learn his name, he was still so fixed up with the League of Devotees over, trying to start these other movements before he came out to the West. It's like there was still so much endeavor to have this facility for people to come towards Krishna, even before it was like, I'll do this when I'm famous. I'll be more fixed up when I'm famous. I'll be more this when I'm more money. It's like, no, that mood was there consistently. Yeah. It's kind of the way we see things within the world also. You kind of just see the final product of something. You don't see what it took for that person to get there or for that product to arrive at this, how it looks right now. And Prabhupada, he went, like I mentioned at the start of the class, like he overcome so many hurdles. There was so much blood, sweat and tears. There was a moment where he was writing his books, he was printing the books, he was going out doing the books distribution when he was in India, and when he came to New York, he was preaching to, these boys and girls who were very intoxicated, and he was giving them this Krishna consciousness philosophy, and he was cooking for them and taking such good care of them, doing everything when it come to service. And it wasn't until like a bit down the track when someone was like, oh, maybe I should do something for you, Prabhupada. And, yes, that would be nice. And that's how the whole service started. And but that's very important as living entities. When we inquire from the spiritual master and we ask questions, they show us the way. They're like the torchlight of knowledge. They light up the path for us. So that's why it's very important to ask questions. But Srila Prabhupada, he was very merciful at the beginning. And as devotees, it's very important for us to, as we mentioned in class, to stay very staunch in our process and
lead by example and give people an opportunity to come and experience Krishna consciousness, because there's so many people suffering out there. As I've mentioned before, like depression is on the rise. Like Bhakti Prakash Swami gave a class the other day about just mental health. The class was just on mental health in the world right now. And mental health is just deteriorating at a very rapid pace. And the material energy it's very strong, and it's bewildering people, and people who don't have the tools and their techniques to overcome and to navigate their way through this material world, they succumb to different vices which are very harmful to themselves. They may watch lots of TV on their phones 24/7, playing games 24/7, taking intoxication, drugs, alcohol, just filling their minds with all this nonsense information. And when the world's bewildering you and you're taking shelter of such devices as this, it's very difficult, and it just feels like there's no way out. You feel like you're suffocating. You feel like you're that person in the ocean who's drowning with your hand up, just begging for someone to come and save you. And Krishna consciousness, that's known as the life raft. So to be able to throw these life rafts to these individuals they may not know. Some people are suffering. They don't even know they're suffering. But they're filling themselves with alcohol, with drugs, with nonsense information. So the suffering's definitely there. But yeah, they just need that information, that little light bulb moment, and they can then begin to walk this path which can bring one to the ultimate perfection of life. And we're very fortunate. There's so much knowledge within this philosophy. So many great devotees around us, and like I said, Krishna consciousness, it's so alive, it's so vibrant. Like I was saying to my brother, when you go to India and you see the deities who they were carved by, as I was just mentioning, relatives of Krishna. Then you go down the line and you've got like Rupa Goswami, who was carving deities at the Radha Damodar temple, which is known as the spiritual hub of the world. So we're very fortunate. We've got so much nectar to dive deep into. So many amazing devotees around us to enhance our own Krishna consciousness and be able to go out there and help as many people as possible. But at the end of the day, it all stems from, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, and my constitutional position is to serve Krishna. If one can understand that, if one can live that, their life will be perfect. And we've got so many examples within the books of Srila Prabhupada, and so many devotees around us who are actually living that. And yeah, just always remember that, because we forget that at times. Things become... Yes.
But it brought me back to when I was doing Govardhana Parikrama. There's one part, I believe, is around the middle where you have to go climbing up onto the hill, onto the rocks. Or is that in Varshana?
But what's the
milk stain?
Yeah, Govardhana.
That's in Varshana.
Govardhana, yeah.
Okay. So there's the milk stain on the rocks from when Krishna was acting as a tax collector.
Yeah.
And that milk stain has been there for generations. Like the old Brajvasis have written down from years back. So it's not just like it just was there, but it's been showed that it's been there for years and years. So that's one version, I guess, of the evidence that was shown there.
That past, you can watch that pastime actually on Bhakti Chaitanya Swami's YouTube. He's got the documentary about Govardhana Hill. He's also got an amazing book of that documentary, one of Govardhana Hill and one of Vrindavan, and it's Vrindavan and Govardhana Hill completely documented. He talks about all these amazing pastimes, who the deities were carved by, where the samadhis are. We're so fortunate, you can go to Vrindavan, go to the 6 Goswamis' samadhis. You can pray there, you can ask for strength. But yeah, Krishna consciousness is so alive and we need to take advantage of that. So there is evidence. Yeah. Anything else? No? Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai.